Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about something pretty big that happened called Operation Epic Fury. Now, this is a really serious story about a major conflict involving Iran, but we're going to walk through it together, step by step, so it all makes sense. Ready? Let's dive in.
Okay, so to really get a handle on this, I want you to imagine the world is one giant playground. And all the countries, well, they're like the kids playing on it. And, just like on any real playground, sometimes things get complicated.
So, on this playground, there are three main kids we really need to get to know for this story. First, you've got the United States. Think of them as a big, powerful kid with a lot of friends all over the place. Then there's Israel, a smaller kid but really quick and super smart. And finally, there's Iran. Iran is an older, larger country that really, really wanted to be the most powerful one on the whole playground. And that's kind of where the trouble begins. Now, the biggest issue on the playground was something called a nuclear program. This is basically a huge, very complicated project. And here's the thing, it can be used for good stuff, like making electricity for people's homes. But it can also be used to build incredibly dangerous weapons. And the idea of Iran having those kinds of weapons, well, it made the other kids on the playground very, very nervous.
So, how did we even get to this point? It didn't just happen overnight. Back in 2018, a big agreement about that nuclear program completely fell apart. Then in 2023, there was a serious attack in Israel, and everything got way more tense. By 2025, the US and Israel were so worried they actually launched airstrikes to damage Iran's nuclear sites. But even that didn't stop things, and by 2026, everything just exploded into a much, much bigger problem.
And that brings us to February 28th, 2026. On that day, the United States and Israel decided they had to do something big. They launched a massive joint military operation. The U.S. called their part Operation Epic Fury, and Israel called theirs Operation Roaring Lion. So what were they trying to accomplish? Well, they had four main goals, kind of like a checklist. Number one, stop Iran from ever getting a nuclear weapon. That was the absolute top priority. Two, destroy their long-range missiles, the ones that can travel really far. Three, completely wipe out Iran's navy. And four, weaken the other groups in the region that were getting support from Iran.
And then, on the very first day, something happened that changed everything. Iran's supreme leader, the person who had been in charge for decades, was killed in the strikes. I mean, imagine if the main referee on the playground just suddenly disappeared. In an instant, nobody in Iran knew who was in charge anymore. It was total chaos.
And the scale of this operation was just massive. In just the first 7 days, the US and Israel hit over 3,000 different targets inside Iran. We're talking about everything: missile launchers, command centers where they make decisions, and all the systems they use to defend themselves. And it wasn't just on land. Out at sea, more than 40 of Iran's naval ships were sunk. Just gone.
This right here really shows you how quickly things changed. On the first day of the conflict, Iran fired off nearly 350 missiles. But just 1 week later, they could only manage to launch 9. Just 9. Their ability to fight back was just collapsing incredibly fast.
So yeah, the whole playground was in chaos. Iran, of course, tried to fight back. They had their own operation called True Promise 4, and they launched missiles and drones. But this is where the story gets really, really strange. Instead of just focusing on the US and Israel, Iran started, firing at other kids on the playground. Kids who weren't even really in the fight. We're talking about countries like the UAE, Bahrain, Cyprus, and Turkey. It just didn't make any sense, and it was making everything even more chaotic. And then came this absolutely wild moment. Iran's president came out and publicly said, "Hey, I'm so sorry to our neighbors. Our military acted without permission. We will stop." But then, almost at the exact same moment, Iran's military headquarters released a totally different statement saying, "Nope, we are not stopping. We will keep attacking." I mean, can you believe that? The government and the military were arguing with each other right out in the open for the whole world to see. All the experts who were watching this were just stunned. They called it a serious command breakdown. What that really means is that the people in charge in Iran had completely lost control. No one knew who was giving the orders anymore.
Okay, we need to just pause here for a moment. It's so easy to get caught up in all the big moves and the chaos of it all, but we need to stop and talk about what's most important.
Because in the middle of all this fighting, there are people. Regular people, families, kids, just trying to live their lives.
The International Committee of the Red Cross put out a really serious warning. They said this whole conflict could have, quote, devastating consequences for civilians. And that's something we can't forget.
Because no matter what governments decide to do, the most important people in any fight are always the ones who aren't fighting at all. Their safety has to come first, period. So after all of that, what happens next? Well, inside Iran, things were in complete disarray. With our main leader gone and everyone else fighting for control, the country was basically falling apart from the inside out. It was just pure chaos. A temporary committee tried to take over, but the government and the military couldn't agree on anything. And then, something amazing and kind of wild started to happen. Some Iranian citizens actually started posting the locations of secret military hideouts online. It was a clear sign that the whole system of giving and following orders was completely breaking down. And so all of this leaves us with so many huge unanswered questions, right? Like, what's going to happen to Iran's government? Who's actually going to lead the country? Are they going to try to talk and find peace, or will the fighting just keep going? And how is the rest of the world going to react to this new reality? Honestly, we don't have the answers to those questions right now. And that's okay. The most important thing isn't having all the answers. It's about understanding what happened and caring enough to keep asking questions and paying attention to what happens next. Because really, the kids on the playground who take the time to understand what's going on, even when it's complicated and messy, they're the ones who are going to help build a much better and safer playground for everyone tomorrow.